I can do that. All right, welcome everyone. I'm Joya Goodrum with the McMinnville Chamber. We today are going to be having the McMinnville Fire Department, Steve Candela, who is he's going to tell you, he's our Deputy Fire Marshal. I got that right. And he's going to be talking today with us about fire prevention and public education on really how you can save yourself a lot of grief if you are, trying to deal with things in your home and in your business with fire prevention. So Steve, I'm going to turn it over to you. I am going to mute myself. And if you have any questions, please post them in the chat and myself and Rhonda will monitor that and we'll go from there. Thank you, Steve. I'll turn it over to you. Thanks for doing this today.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. Well, everyone, thank you. Thank you, Joya. Thank you, Rhonda, for having me. I'm tickled pink to reach people, even if it's on Zoom, and I hate Zoom, but this is a good forum. We're going to go over a few slides. My intent is to move quickly through the slides so I can generate questions. If you have any questions, please ask them. Either type them in and we will get them out, or just stop me, ask the question, unmute yourself and ask. I don't want to talk for an hour. I'd rather have questions and see where this conversation goes. All right. Hold on, technical, where let's see. There we go. All right, so that is me, Steve Candela, Deputy Fire Marshal. I've been with the city of McMinnville for about 6 years now. Before that, I was Deputy State Fire Marshal. I worked at Tualatin Valley Fire Rescue. Been doing this for quite a while. If you're looking at that slide, the most important thing to me on that slide, I want you all to see is I live and I work here in town. My family goes to school here. We go to church here in town. I eat on 3rd Street. I do this job. I chose to do this job here in McMinnville because I love this town and I live here in town. I've lived here since 2011. I had a good job, but I chose to come to McMinnville to be part of a community, to be part of this job. So just that last bullet, if you can think of me as a citizen. I want to be a resource to you. I'm not I don't want to be the scary deputy fire marshal. Again, if you work with me, just know that where I'm coming from is I'm coming from the position as, hey, I'm going to be the one shopping at your store. I'm going to be the one eating at your restaurant. I'd love to be safe. I'd love to know my family's safe and yours. So thank you. That's me. Any questions on that? Feel free. Ooh, we're going to hit this button. All right. So as the fire marshal, all right, I do a couple things. Fire code, that's the fire enforcement. We're going to talk about that. I do fire investigation, so I am the detective for fire. I'm kind of like the fire nerd for the fire station. I do building construction, building techniques to make sure the building's safe. I do public education. I meet with the kids. I'm at the senior centers. I do everything I can to enforce the fire code. I do everything I do. The way I save lives is by education, enforcing the fire code. So the 5 E's of prevention's right there. We're going to talk about them right now, okay? Public education. That's me getting on my hands and knees and playing with the kids. That's me going to the senior centers, doing this kind of stuff. This is how I educate people. This is how I save lives, is by educating people. Engineering. A lot of buildings are engineered safe. They're a lot safer than they were, 30, 40 years ago. You get, as a business owner, you get credits for having a safe building. That's all in the fire code. That's what we do. Enforcement, that is the big red scary book that we're going to talk about today. All right. That's the role of a fire marshal. New construction plan review. As the building is being built, I am afforded the opportunity to look at the plans. That's me looking at blueprints right there and finding out, how can I make this building safe? And is this building right with the fire code and the building code? And the best way we can say, it's easier to fix something on pen and paper on my desk versus out on the street with a hammer and nail. It's easy to fix it here before you build it. That's why we do plan review. The state of Oregon has real laws that says I'm allowed input to our building official. Fire investigations, that's after the fire. That's the dirty part of the job. It's kind of the fun part too. I get to play detective a little bit. But if you think every fire starts small, my job is to find that first small fire, even if the whole building's gone. My job is to get to the point where we can say, what was the first thing that caught on fire and how did it start? That's fire investigation. If I'm going too fast, please ask a question.
We have a question actually. And since you're talking about you're talking about plan review, could you please let us know, do you review all new commercial construction plans?
No.
No.
Okay, so the way it works in this jurisdiction, and this is a deal that we have with our building code official. If it's the fire code gives me authority over two things only. Access, can my fire trucks get to your place? And when I get there, water supply. So that's the only two things where new construction I have authority on, access and water supply. However, I am the subject matter expert for fire alarm systems, fire sprinkler systems, and even the egress systems of the building, right? So our building official sends me over a copy of the blueprints. When I look through those blueprints, there could be 40 pages, and I don't care about 39 of those pages. I don't care what the sidewalks are made out of. I don't care, how tall the counters are at the front desk. What I do care about is sprinklers, alarms, and exiting. And I'll go straight to those pages and I will review the blueprints based against the Oregon Fire Code. And the Oregon Fire Code and the building code are the same exact thing for sprinklers, exiting, and alarms. So new construction going on, just for example, the Old Stone Village, where they're doing the new subdivision out there, they're putting another little community center out there. I didn't care about any of it. I saw all the plans for it, and I go straight to the page that says fire and life safety, and I review it for sprinklers, alarms, and then access and water supply. That's where I fix changes. Everything else to me, I don't know it. I can't possibly know all that stuff. I leave that to the building official.
That's interesting. So when someone says it's built to code,
yes,
it's really saying that it's built to fire code, but not really any other code.
It's built to the building code. So, and we're going to talk about this in a minute.
Okay. All right. I'll hold that question then. Thank you.
All new construction is built to the Oregon State Structural Specialty Code, which is the building code. All right. The way Oregon is structured, the building code official builds the building, he makes it safe, and then I maintain it after that forever. Okay, that's how it goes. Look at the slide. The Oregon Fire Code is based on International Fire Code. So the Oregon Fire Code that we enforce here in McMinnville is the same in Phoenix, Arizona. It's the same in Mexico City. We could go to Disneyland, Tokyo, and it would be based on the same International Fire Code. It is authored truly by industry experts, private businesses, and fire departments, fire marshals. We have the opportunity to weigh in on this. I would say the majority of this stuff comes from industry experts. The industry expert for like a sprinkler system will say, these are the capabilities. The fire code official gets the opportunity to weigh in on that, and then it becomes the fire code. And it is truly, Oregon Fire Code is the same throughout the state of Oregon. The only place would be a little bit different would be like Portland. But this is the Oregon Fire Code. Portland says we're going to be right here. I promise you, here in this jurisdiction, I'm only enforcing the Oregon Fire Code. McMinnville does not have its own fire code, its own laws. All right. So, in fact, I have to enforce just the code. I cannot make this stuff up. You'll see on one of my last bullets, it says cite it and write it. I challenge you. If I do an inspection and I write it down, or if I cite it as a violation, I have to cite the code. So it's not Steve Candela code. I have to cite it and write it, and it has to be based in the fire code. All right. And then the last bullet on there, chapters 1 through 10. That's what we're going to talk about a little today. Chapters 1 through 10 out of this big scary book. That's it. It's easy stuff. All right. We're going to talk about that right. Chapters 1 through 10 is where I spend most of my time. All right. Here we go. The fire code, and this is very specific, is a maintenance code. All right. I don't have any authority to require you to redo your building. So hear me loud and clear. I'm not going to walk into your business and make you dump $50,000 into upgrades for the building. All right. The fire code is a maintenance code. The fire code, the building code official establishes the safe building, and then he's done. He has no more authority once the building is occupied. The fire code comes in and I maintain what's in place. All right. Each building is different. Each occupancy is different. Let's just say like a school is going to have more safeguards than a mom and pop insurance company building. That's just an office. Schools have a lot more requirements. But again, it's a maintenance code. Next slide. The fire code gives me the authority it grants me the authority to come in and do inspections. All right. That is, and the schedule for inspections, that's given to the fire marshal. The local jurisdiction establishes the schedule. I have to do schools annually. I do every school annually. I do the hospitals. I do the state licensed facilities like the assisted living centers. I do all of those annually because that's required in state law. But other businesses, let's say Black Rock Coffee here in town, there is no requirement that I get in there annually. In fact, I probably won't get in there for 3 or 4 years. We'll do it once, and then 3 or 4 years later, I'll go back out. But I want you to take that against 3rd Street. 3rd Street is very popular. And if McMinnville lost 3rd Street, we're in trouble. So the fire marshal says, okay, if you're on 3rd Street, we're going to do annual inspections. That's just the way that the schedule was given to me, and that's what I do. The term grandfathered, on my slide, it says grandfathered. The buildings are grandfathered. Trust me, I cannot walk into your building and make you upgrade sprinklers, doors, walls, blah, blah, blah. All right. But what you do inside of it is not. All right. So if you change the operation inside, that is not grandfathered. So buildings are grandfathered. What you do inside is not. An example would be is we had an old school building, great location here in town, old school building, gorgeous. And somebody said, hey, that'll be a great bar. The building is grandfathered. I couldn't make it upgrade the school building. But when you start changing what you do on the inside, you're changing the use. That triggers the fire code. That triggers the building code, okay? Changes to the building has to be done at the building official. All right, questions about that, about grandfathered buildings? The fire code is a maintenance code. You're going to see me come out and I'm only going to maintain what's already there. It's when you change the use of the building. Like, hey, we put an apartment upstairs. Well, we thought it'd be a good idea to live here. You know, that's changing the use. All right. Just don't look right. JDLR, everyone can take a look at that picture right there. Chapters 1 through 10 of the fire code is just don't look right. If I see a blocked exit like that, that just doesn't look right. That's chapter 10 of the fire code. So when I promise you, when I come out to your businesses, if it just don't look right, it's in chapters 1 through 10, and I'll be able to cite that by memory. All right. You know, 605, 105, whatever it is. If I have to go to your, let's say, winery. Let's say I go to your wine tasting building here in town, and I have to go to the hazmat chapter to do your wine tasting room. That's a bad day. We've already screwed up. Okay. Most of the stuff that we're going to find that just don't look right is in chapters 1 through 10, and you're going to see it just like I'm going to see it. Okay. Next slide right there. If you see all those electrical wires that just don't look right. All right, that's in the Oregon Fire Code. I will explain everything to you, but this is a fire hazard. Everyone can see, I kind of listed the table of commerce, chapters 1 through 10. Questions about that? None of that stuff is rocket science. When I come out to your business, it's cited and righted. I have to say, chapter 3, 315, hey, I need you to pull the storage away from the exit doors. You're blocking it. Chapter 6 of the fire code, it says electrical, building systems. Hey, these electrical wires that are just dangling from your ceiling, it just don't look right. That's a hazard. That's Oregon Fire Code 605.
I have a
Yes.
question, Steve. So
Yeah.
under emergency planning number 4, so what kinds of things would you be looking for that would address emergency planning? Like, do you have to have like a map that says, here's the exit door? Would that be emergency planning? Or do you have to have a fire extinguisher? Like, we have 2 fire extinguishers in our building, one in the basement and one on the basement in the basement downstairs, and one up on the floor, the main floor of the building. So is that part of emergency planning? Like, what would you be looking for that would address number 4?
Okay, so everyone's familiar with the Chamber of Commerce. It's an older house that's been converted to a business office, right? Remember I said this, the schedule, how long we're going to do those inspections. I actually I think I've done 1 inspection at the Chamber building. That's when you kind of moved in. Other than that, I've left you alone in the last 5 years. The fire code says specifically in the fire extinguisher question, that is in chapter 9, fire protection systems. That says there shall be a fire extinguisher at the top floor and then 1 in the basement. If the basement is occupied, like you guys are using it, we got to have 1 on every level. All right. Chapter 4 of the fire code, I really would never even use at your business. Emergency planning is like fire drills, fire safety for the senior centers, the assisted living center. I'm always in chapter 4 because there is a monthly requirement that they do monthly fire drills. So I use chapter 4, which gives me the authority to say, show me your fire drills. And if they can't produce one, then I'm like, okay, then let's do some education. And that's all in chapter 4. Again, I'm not going after the building. I'm going after what they're doing inside. And hotels, there is no requirement that when you check in, they tell you about fire and life safety, but there is a requirement that at their door, it says you are here, run down the hall to the left. That's all appears in chapter 4 of the fire code. It's emergency planning, evacuation procedures. The schools, we use that a bunch. All right, but the smaller locations doesn't apply. I could not make the Chamber of Commerce do a fire drill. It just doesn't appear in the fire code. I couldn't make you do it. But the bigger occupancies like Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, Bi-Mart, they have emergency evacuation procedures that need to be followed based on the size and use of their building. Everyone cool with that? Thumbs up? All right. All right. Next slide. Okay. So again, just don't look right. If you're gonna see the fire marshal get upset or ANSI get nervous, it's when people cannot get out of the building. Throughout history, no one's ever died once they got like 5 feet out into the fresh air. The people who die are the ones who are inside. And again, everyone who's ever died in a building, trust me, they were looking for a way out. So I'm going to make sure the exiting are there. I'm going to make sure the exiting work. If it looks like an exit, it has to function like an exit. Again, I'm not making it up. That's in the fire code. Anything that looks like an exit shall function like an exit. And that exit goes from the inside hallway of the business through the door to the outside curb, right? That is the whole egress system. So I threw this up there just because this is how I save lives. People who get outside away from the smoke are the ones that live throughout history. All right. My job is to get people safely outside the building. I get the people outside safely and I get my firefighters in safely to fight the fire. I've done my job. And I think if you work with me as building business owners, we'll start the conversation there. Can we get your employees and visitors out? Can I get my guys in? Everything else after that is the gravy on top.
Hey, Steve, we have a question. There's a question regarding egress windows in a home remodeling project. I'm not sure I know do you know what that means? I'm not sure I understand.
So,
Can I ask the question?
Please do. Please do, Paul.
I do remodeling as part of some of my projects. And for instance, if we are remodeling a home and one of the bedrooms has a window that is definitely not an egress window, it doesn't fall within the specs. Do we need to replace that window with a proper egress window, or is there a limit as to how much remodeling we're doing when that would come into effect? I mean, you can't go in and just tell somebody, oh, you have to upgrade your windows, right?
Sure.
But if I'm doing work on their house and I get a permit, the building official is probably going to flag that and say, you need to change this window to an egress window. Is that correct?
and on that question, residential homes do not fall under the fire code. So I would have to defer, of course, to the building code official, the city building code official. Like, I have no authority to go inside your home and tell you how to live, right? But
Right.
when you get a permit, you're bringing the building code official in to look at the scope of the project.
Right.
He may say that, hey, this at one time was an egress window. It has to be maintained as an egress window, right? That's like second floor basements, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know if he has the juice to actually make you upgrade. It's like, if it wasn't a requirement in 1967, I don't think he has the juice to make it, put it into today's standards. But I have to defer to my man at the building official, because, and especially Rob, he does all the residential style inspections.
Yes. Yeah, I know Rob, and yes, and that's kind of my question is, do I recommend to my client, well, you probably should upgrade this window because the building official may require it as part of the permit, but if they don't, then they don't have to, right?
Agreed. What I want to tell you, Paul, is I work with Rob, I work with Randy and Stuart. They're not going to require anything that's not in code. Same as me. If it doesn't appear in the Oregon state law, they won't make you do it. They couldn't make you do it, just like I can't. What I would say, when you're prepping your client, you can say, hey, do you want the window or not? And if you don't want the window, you give the section of code to Rob and say, this is why we are not doing the window, based on the building code, blah, 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 number 6778, right? That's the best way to go at it. But I don't think Rob would make you upgrade. Okay,
I consider it usually a part of the education process for the client. Is so the example I'm thinking of has it's like a 5 foot wide by 3 foot tall window, but it's 48 inches above the floor, which doesn't, you an old person or a kid would find it really difficult to get out that window, even though theoretically they could. So I explain that situation to them and suggest that it would be really nice for your future resale value and the safety of all of you and your family that if we changed that wide and high up off the ground window into a proper egress window, which looks like this.
I would welcome it personally. Okay. I would welcome it, but I don't think we have the juice to make you do it.
Right. Okay.
But if you were to educate your people with that, I would love it.
Okay, I generally do. And one other question: does this session qualify as a continuing education credit for my CCB license renewal? No. Okay, that's all right. That's good information. Thank you.
I would probably have to do that ahead of time, and I sure didn't.
No problem. Just occurred to me now.
Yeah. All right.
Good questions, Paul. Thank you.
All right. So I want everyone to see the slide that we have. It's a lot of words, blah, blah, blah. The Oregon Fire Code comes from the Oregon statute that says the state fire marshal shall make rules for governing fire and life safety. I am a deputy of the state fire marshal. The way the state has it written down is I am an assistant to the state fire marshal. Even though I'm employed by the city of McMinnville, I am an assistant to the state because I enforce his laws, which kind of means I'm only allowed to enforce what's in paper in the red book, right? Oregon Fire Code then adopted the Oregon statute adopted the fire code. So this is the same as international code with a few tweaks that make it Oregon specific. And then each chapter, chapter 10 would talk about egress, blah, blah, blah. So that's where this authority comes from. I moved pretty quickly through the business portion of that. Do we have any questions as business owners? I forgot to add, if you do have questions, I'll get you a little friend. I'll get this over to you, Paul, I promise. All right? Or I'll get you a little firefighter pen. All right. So I'd love to have a question, please. Anything that you have concerns about your business before we go on to fire safety?
I'm not seeing any questions show up, Steve. So I think we can move on, and people can post questions or post them, and then we can address them. Thanks.
All I'm saying is I want to be a resource. I want you to call me up ahead of time and say, hey, Steve, we're thinking about doing this. What does the fire code say about this change? Or we're going to relocate this wall, whatever it is. It would be easier if this window didn't exist. Give me a call ahead of time. Let me be your friendly resource before I have to become the fire inspector. All right.
Yeah. Hey, Steve, at the end of this, will your contact information be on the slideshow? No. How do we get in touch with you?
Well, obviously at the fire station, Monday through Friday is the best.
Okay.
But I will have to email my contact information because I did not put it in.
That's fine. I know Rhonda knows how to get in touch with you.
All right. So home fire safety. All right. I'm not doing my job unless I'm trying to save people's lives at their houses. A vast majority of fire deaths occur in the home. It's something like 88% of fire deaths occur in the home. I'm not too worried about you in your small business office or the chamber office because you're not sleeping there. You're not cooking there. So a huge majority of fires occur in the home. All right. And majority of fire deaths occur in the home. Okay. This is the same lesson that you got as a second grader, but I'm going to teach you from a fire investigator perspective. I'm going to talk at a higher level, and it's going to be hard for some people. All right. Loud and clear. Home fires are very survivable if you take the right amount of precautions. All right. A little bit of preparations and you're going to be okay. As the fire investigator, I go to a lot of fires, and unfortunately, I've seen too many dead bodies where you can say they had no idea or they didn't care about fire safety at all, no plan, no preparations, and the result is obvious. All right, with a little bit of prep, a little bit of, adding fire safety, buying smoke alarms, they're survivable. All right, seconds count. The average fire, you got less than 3 minutes to get out. All right, you think about your house. You can be out of your house in 10 seconds. If Joya at her house, if the alarm's gone off or she smelled smoke, she could be out of her house on the curb in less than 10 seconds. When the fire is still tiny, 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 Joya would know there was a problem, she'd get out. Where that 3 minutes comes, in fact, is if you don't have a plan, if you don't have working smoke alarms, and that fire has grown in your kitchen for 3 minutes, and then you try and run out, that's a bad day. All right, so we'll talk about that. You get 3 minutes in modern house fires. I want to know if anyone can see this. Shoya, let me know if this video comes up.
I see a video starting. Yep, it's working.
Can you hear it?
Yeah, no. I cannot hear it, sorry.
All right. Hey, Paul, can anyone hear this? Give me a thumbs up.
can certainly see a fire starting in a bag.
Okay. We didn't test out the sound too well, I guess. So what this video is showing you clearly is every fire starts small. All right, this at 50 seconds, you could still walk over there and put that fire out if you had a fire extinguisher. If there was a working smoke alarm in that room, you would have known about it when the fire was this small, and you would have been able to run around and get an extinguisher. At a minute, that fire is already pretty much, it's getting big. You're not going to put that out by smothering it. You better have a fire extinguisher handy. Fire doesn't grow at a straight line. Fire does not grow like this. Fire grows exponentially. So it feeds on itself. And you'll see once it hits the 2-minute mark, this fire gets really quick, really fast. Everyone see that smoke up on the top layer? You guys will see something where the smoke is actually on fire. That's called flame over. The smoke is unburned fuel. So the smoke is flammable. At this point, if you're in that room, you're not going to make it out. That's under 3 minutes. Flashover occurs when everything in that room is on fire. I mean, even the firefighters in our protective gear cannot withstand that. Our gear could, but the human body can't. All right. This might be time for. All right. All right. So what's our first thing? Okay.
Wow.
You got to have a plan, and that's it. You know, when you were in second grade, you didn't know you were doing fire drills, but you had a plan. The teachers had a plan. Why don't we have a plan in our homes? All right. What's going to happen when the alarms go off? We're going to talk about a lot of other stuff. I'm kind of nervous that I don't have sound, but all I'm asking is that you create a plan. All right. You practice your plan. All right. You don't have to do full-on fire drills in an 1,800 square foot home. All right. Everybody knows their home. They know how to get out of their home. Right. So I don't expect anyone to go crawling down their hallway to get out of the building, but you should have the mental schema built up in your heads. Okay, the fire is going to occur in the kitchen. How am I going to get to my kids? I need that practiced, at least in your head. You know, make sure your smoke alarms work. That's huge. As simple as testing the button, going up and hitting the button every 6 months, changing the batteries every couple of years is going to protect you. All right. I am going to just real quick. All right, we're good. No 2 ways out of the home. I've been to this fire too many times when, especially with the kids. I mean, you find someone dead in a closet because in a smoke environment, they forgot about the window. So they ran to the closet. So, you know, windows count. Front door, back door, obviously, right? But windows. I go back to my earlier statement. People do not die when they get 5 feet out in the fresh air. You get away from the building and you're breathing fresh air, you're going to live. If you try and beat the smoke, and you got some slides about that coming on, that's when you perish. All right. So no 2 ways out of every house. Get away from the smoke. My kids know gonna have a 16-year-old, a 12, and a 14-year-old. They just know, get out the window if they can. If there's smoke in the hallway, jump out the window. All right. This is going to be sad if we don't hear it.
Saying every second
Does
counts
anyone
in a
hear that?
disaster, like a house fire, but you might be surprised to know
Yes,
that
it's working.
how much time you have to escape your own home during a fire is the age of your house.
And this is the unbelievable part. You actually have a lot less time to get out of a newer home. Our chief investigative reporter, Morgan Lowe, is joining us now with the details on this.
Chris and Scene, it makes sense to think that newer homes are safer, and in a lot of ways they are, but not when it comes to fire. And if you live in a new home, you might want to take your family's escape plan and speed it up.
There's incident command. They're requesting that
Saturday morning, January 12th, an apartment building in Mesa is on fire. 12 people trapped on the third floor. Okay, go. Firefighters are in rescue mode. This is just the latest example of how quickly a structure fire can become a death trap. And today, people actually have less time to get out than ever before. Here's why. This video from Underwriters Laboratories shows an older room on the left and a modern room on the right. A small fire starts in both rooms at the same time. But as we speed up the video, take a look at how much faster a modern room turns into an inferno.
We may think, well, because of newer construction types, the technology makes it better for us to survive in fires. Well, that's actually opposite of that.
Mesa Fire Deputy Chief Forrest Smith says it's modern furnishings and building materials to blame. Things like particle board, microfiber, and polyurethane furnishings catch fire faster and give off more toxic smoke than older solid wood and natural cloth.
Your time to get out of a fire has actually decreased several times over.
30 years ago, you may have had 20 minutes to escape a house fire. Now it's 4 minutes or less. Do families need to revisit their escape plan based on this information?
Absolutely. We want people to have that conversation at home is, what are we going to do in the event of a fire or a disaster in our home? And how are we going to get out? And where's our place to meet?
The most important step you can take is to create a disaster plan for your family and practice it. 2 to 4 minutes is not a lot of time to get out, especially if you're waking up in the middle of the night to a...
All right. So, yes, Joy, go ahead.
Two questions. So wow, that was fascinating to watch that. I happen to actually know Sean McLaughlin, anyway, from Arizona. Is there, two questions, is there value in having a small oxygen breather? And second, are there grants or incentives to encourage new construction customers to add fire sprinklers? I had the same thought. I was like, maybe I could get fire sprinklers in my house. Can you talk about that for a minute?
Okay, so here in the state of Oregon, all right, there is laws that say I cannot make anyone, or the building official cannot make anyone put sprinklers in their home unless for the economic incentive. Like we have people up here in our county. So someone who lives up Baker Creek, if their house size exceeds 3,600 square foot, then they have to put sprinklers in it. That's based in code and law, right? But that's based on square footage of the home. 3,600 square foot's a larger home, right? You can get economic incentives for sprinkling your house. You will get a break in your insurance if you sprinkler your house. Here in McMinnville, though, like, so if you're in the city proper, our jurisdiction, the city area, city limits, you don't have to sprinkle your home because there's hydrants on every corner, right? My firefighters are 5 minutes from you. So it is assumed that we're going to get to your house within 5 minutes. It is assumed that when we show up, we're going to bring enough water to the fight, right, in our fire trucks. And then we're also going to get a hydrant down the street. So there is no requirement for sprinklers in this jurisdiction, the city. But if you're building a house, Booth Bend is technically county. So if you are building a 4,000 square foot house out in the county, there is a sprinkler requirement. If you are opening up a hotel, motel, an apartment complex, those all have sprinklers requirements now. All right, there's a good sprinkler video coming up. What was the second part of that question?
Are there grants or incentives to encourage new construction customers and add fire sprinklers?
No, other than no grants that I can think of in the state of Oregon. but you will get an incentive from your home insurance. All right, you may not see that, you may not see a benefit if you're in town, but if you're out of town, you will get a benefit for that.
Mhm. Oh, and someone else was, Mike asked, is there a value in having a small oxygen breather, like a little tank of gas, oxygen? Would that be dangerous? I don't know.
I have not seen a residential one used
Mhm.
effectively ever. So no. And Mike, but here's what I love about that question that you're thinking. All right. If I could get you, instead of spending $200 on a small oxygen tank, go to Bimart and get a $15 smoke alarm, and you've done a whole lot more. You're not going to have to worry about an oxygen tank. You're not going to have to worry about jumping out a window if you have a smoke alarm in the room. All right. So if there's everyone look at the room they're at right now. If there's a smoke alarm up on the ceiling,
Mhm.
he's going to find it in about 15 seconds. So when the fire is still that small, that sucker is going to start beeping. You're going to have plenty
Right.
of time to get out. It's not Hollywood. You know, there's no fireball that's going to chase you down the living or chase you out the hallway and out the front door. It's the people who don't have a plan, who don't even know that the fire is going to get them. That's the ones that die. All right. So everyone take a look at my next slide here. Okay.
Mhm.
We've been teaching kids to get low and go. You've heard that in second grade, right? But do you understand the science behind it? That black cloud of smoke that sits above your head, that's 800 degrees.
Oh
All
my
right.
God.
That's double your oven. Okay. One breath of that and you're gone. All
Right.
right. That's why we teach the kids to crawl. All right. The air down low is still 80, 90 degrees. You can breathe it. But if you stand up and put your head in that smoke, you're a goner. All right. And that's why I challenge all of you to make sure you have working smoke alarms in your home. All right.
Mhm.
No one's going to have to run for their lives. Mike, your question about the air bottle, same question I get about those window escape ladders.
Oh, yeah.
I love the window escape ladders, but I'll tell you, before you spend $100 on a window escape ladder that you probably will not use, go drop $15 on a smoke alarm. That's going to save your life. You
Mhm.
don't have to use your window escape ladder if you spend the $15 on a working smoke detector. It starts with that. All right, smoke is the killer. You guys heard me say it, all right? You cannot outrun it. In are the ones that die. The ones who get to fresh air are the ones that are going to live, all right? That includes even going to your room and shutting the door. And I got a slide about that coming up.
Mm.
One
Oh my
breath of
God.
superheated gas, and that's just a single family home. It's a rather large one, you know, but still that's a single family home. You breathe that stuff in and you're not doing well. You need to get out of the house while the fire is
Oh
still
my God.
all right. This is a standard kitchen fire. Fire comes out of the kitchen and spreads throughout the entire house. This is my job. I can read these patterns on the walls and I can determine which way the fire moved based on air patterns, these fire patterns on the walls, the damage inside. All right, so we're going to talk about this guy. Hold on one sec. All right, I want to make sure everyone can read this one because this one's super cool. Can everyone hear it? Julia?
Mm-mm. Sorry.
Can you hear it?
Nope.
Anyone else? Can they hear it?
Yep, I can hear it now. It's not very loud, but I can hear it.
How important it is.
It's very faint.
To shut your door. And we're going to go upstairs and take a look at exactly what I'm trying to tell you. We are on the second floor where all the heated gases came from the first floor. The seat of the fire was in the kitchen, as we noted. However, heated gases and smoke is really one of the lethal parts of a fire, and that's what a lot of people succumb to. So at night, if somebody's asleep, these gases can get into your room. But the big key is keeping your door closed. As we can see up here, there are 3 bedrooms. Of the 3 bedrooms, 2 had their doors closed and 1 had it opened. I'm going to take you first to the bedroom that had the door open and show you what happens to the door or to the bedroom that has a door open. All the heated gases came into this room. You can see the nail marks on the drywall. That means there was significant heat, enough heat to do that. And anybody, had they been asleep in here, would have succumbed to those toxic gases. And so I'm going to take you now to a bedroom where the door was closed. As you can see, the level of the smoke on this door banked down to here because the door was closed. Because the door was closed, none of those heated gases came into this room. And you can note what a remarkable difference it is when your door is closed. When this door was closed, had anybody been inside, the only smoke that would have been able to get to them would have been coming through the cracks here, which is minimal. There's a little bit of smoke also noted up here on the ceiling vent. But beyond that, a person has ample time to escape another way or to stay safe in here. If anybody were ever to be trapped, they would want to shut the door and have a safe refuge until help arrived. If you were asleep at night, you'd also want to have that door closed because that, in conjunction with a smoke alarm, is going to keep you alive. Here's the master bedroom. This is another bedroom that had the door closed. As you can see, pretty much everything in the room has minimal damage. In fact, the insurance company considers everything in here salvageable. They'll clean it, take care of it. Anything else that was exposed to the heated gas is a total loss. We can see that the door was closed. And the only gases, again, that came in were through the cracks. Other than that, there would have been complete safety inside this room until help arrived, or until you escaped out a window, which we have here in the room.
All right. Pretty powerful video, right? The smoke is the killer. And what he's saying is shutting doors and keeping yourself away from the smoke is the best thing you can do for your family. Smoke alarms, all right? I can't say it enough. I go to, as the fire investigator, the people who survive are the ones that hear something. All right. I've interviewed a guy who went through a whole fire. He was probably 10 feet from this wood burning fire stove, right? The fire got out of the wood burning stove, got the stuff around him. He slept on the couch through the whole thing. He was in the same room. All right. It wasn't until the smoke from the wood burning stove went over his head into the hallway and set off the smoke alarm. The smoke alarm woke him up. But he was in the same room. He slept through the whole thing. The smoke alarm got him up. Another example of that same situation, the dog outside barking like crazy was what woke him up. He would have slept through the whole thing if it had not been for the neighbor's dog going crazy. All right, so the people who survive are the people that hear something. Smoke detectors save lives. All right, this is what I've seen. All right, rarely do people burn. All right, so you have, everyone sees the kitchen fire. All right, that's 70% of fire start in the kitchen. We find the guy down in the hallway, dead over by his bed. All right, the fire never got him. It was the smoke that got him. Eventually he wakes up, stands up, puts his head up in the smoke layer, takes one breath, and that's where we find him. Face first, facing the exit door, but not burn, just the smoke. So I'm telling you, get a smoke alarm. Best thing you do for your save yourself. It's your nose at night. The human nose cannot smell smoke while we sleep. All right. Our noses are not good enough to smell smoke. You have to have something to wake you up, and that's hearing. This again, as the fire investigator, no one ever told me I woke up because I smelled smoke. All right. One guy tried it, but he was the dirtbag that actually started the fire, and that was he was lying to me. All right. Most people report hearing the smoke alarm, the dog barking like crazy, or the neighbor pounding on the door, wake up, wake up, wake up. All right, that's what wakes them up. Have a plan to get your kids out. All right, studies have shown our kids will sleep all the way through a smoke alarm, okay? They will not wake up to the sound of the smoke detector. You have to have a plan to get to your kids. The newer smoke alarms that have mom's recorded voice or have a voice that say fire, fire, get out, those ones are more effective than the beep. The kids will sleep through the beep all the way through high school. Have a plan to get to them. We want them in hallways, and we want them in every sleeping room. So every room there's somebody sleeping, put a smoke detector up on the ceiling. Do not put them in the kitchens. Do not put them in the hallways next to bathrooms, because a hot steamy shower will set off your smoke alarm. I want them in the middle of your room that you're sleeping in. All right. And of course, as the local fire marshal, if you need help, I will come help you install smoke alarms. All right. That's how important. That's how I save lives. I have a lot of times where I get the senior lady call me up, and I don't want her on the ladder. Let me do that. I will get up and I will install smoke detectors for you. All right. Get out, stay out. Same message you heard as a kid, right? But let me tell you what happens. I lose more men who get out of a burning house, but then run back in for the family guns or the family Bible, the family photos. Okay. Get your family out and stay out. I lose more women who get out and then run back in for a little Billy, right? Where little Billy should have just gone to the safe meeting spot, but little Billy went to the neighbor's house. So what happens? Mom runs back inside a burning building, okay? Get your family out, get out and stay out. Same message you heard, but unfortunately I've been in that fire where dad has run back into the fire to get a gun, or mom has run back in for the daughter and never come back out. So that goes the next one, have one safe meeting spot so your family knows to wait for each other. Kitchen fires. Rhonda, Joy, am I good on time? I still have 5 minutes. Okay, all right. Kitchen fires. Sorry, I can't hear you. You're muted.
Some of us don't have children, but we have pets. And
Okay.
I could see myself trying to run back in to find the cat. And I know where the cat would be too. I probably should just grab the cat as I'm walking out the door. You go back to the kitchen.
Okay. Kitchen fires account for 70% of fires. All right. So if I can get rid of all your kitchens, I'm doing really good for myself in fire prevention, right? So here's the scoop. If you're cooking, just stay in the kitchen. All right. The term says watch it burn. What happens most of the time is someone comes in, put something on the stoves, then they get distracted. Their neighbor calls, they walk over to the neighbor's house, or they had too much to drink and they go pass out on the couch, whatever it is, they're distracted. And, I'll go through my fire investigation. I'm like, hey, what changed? Well, I put something in the stove and I was going to cook, but then my mom called and I ran over here and I helped her out and I forgot something on the stove, right? So there's a change, right? 70% of fires start in the kitchen. So stay in the kitchen, watch it burn. All right, I'm going to play this video because it's really good. And I also want you to see how good the fire extinguishers work in this video. All right, because I'll get 2 for 1 if you see how the fire extinguishers work.
This morning in Health Watch, what to
Can you
do
hear
if
it, Joy?
flames suddenly break
Can you
out
hear
in
it?
your kitchen. Early Show consumer correspondent Susan Copen here with some important safety tips. Good morning.
Good morning, Harry. Cooking fires are the leading cause of home fires in the United States. So we are about to show you the do's and don'ts of handling a grease fire. In just minutes, an entire house can go up in flames. And most of those fires start right here, the kitchen. Cooking fires cause more than 480 fire deaths each year and nearly $900 million in property damage. Grease fires that get out of control are one of the main culprits. To see firsthand just how out of control they can get, we went to the State Farm Building Technology Research Lab outside of Chicago. Do most people know how to handle a kitchen fire?
I would say not many people know how to handle a kitchen fire and what to do if it were to start.
State Farm researcher John Donovan is an expert in grease fires. With firefighters standing by, he helped us set a pan on fire to show us what not to do in a kitchen fire. You might think water is the best defense, but not when it comes to a grease fire. Just watch what happens when John throws a small cup of water on the pan.
No water.
Flame double in size almost instantly.
We threw probably 1.5 ounces of water on that fire, and you saw the flare up we got from that. Absolutely the worst thing you can do to a grease fire is throw water of any sort on it, any amount, anything, no water.
And here's what happens when John tries to smother the fire with a wet towel. Again, the fire becomes more intense.
The other hazards are you may try and put the towel on there and actually pull the pan off of the stove. Well, then you've got burning oil on the floor. Most likely you've got it on whoever was trying to throw the towel on. So you're just, you're causing more problems than you're really trying to solve.
Even using a fire extinguisher that is water-based can have disastrous results. Just look, the flames shoot to the ceiling. What you need is a dry chemical fire extinguisher, specifically designed to deal with grease. You can see here how it puts out the flames in a matter of seconds.
They're effective.
Basically, you pull
They
the
work
pin,
good.
you squeeze the trigger and you're aiming at the base of the fire. You want to put that fire out at the base. If you put it up high, the chemical falls on top of the fire, doesn't do a bit of good.
Here's something else you can do. If the flames are small enough, carefully put a lid on the pan and turn off the heat.
Don't try and move the pan. Many people get burns or start fires elsewhere as they're trying to take that pan and get it outside.
And once that lid is on, don't remove it. Watch what happens when John does just that.
Even if you turn that burner off, that pan is holding the heat, the oil is holding the heat, it's going to light again.
If a grease fire is
All right, so here's the truth of it, okay? I have more men try and get that hot pan and run it out the front door, right? They start dripping oil everywhere. Now we have a fire down the living room. I have more ladies who try and put water on it. They try and move it to the sink and throw water on it, okay? That's just what I've seen. It's best to leave it on the stove and put a lid on it. Put a baking sheet covering it up, turn off the heat. Once it chews up all the oxygen, the fire will go out, I promise. But let it sit there. You saw when they lift up the thing and give it fresh oxygen, how it flared up? That's real. So just put a lid on it, turn it off. You can call the fire department. We will be there for you. Question?
Yeah, I have a question. There were two questions. Does the fire department offer free smoke detectors? And do you offer extinguisher training? And then I have a third question.
So we'll go with extinguisher training. I will come by your businesses and perform extinguisher training, okay?
Awesome.
It checks the box for OSHA. So OSHA state requires that you have annual extinguisher training. Let me do that for you. I'll do it free. All right. The only thing I ask is that you give me a safe place to do it. And I don't want to come out for one employee. I'd like to come out for all of the employees. So I don't have to come out, 10 times.
Sure.
Get me an audience, get me a place to do it. I'll be there for you. No problem. As the question was smoke alarms.
Yep.
I do not have a budget to provide smoke alarms.
Got it.
Occasionally the firefighters will say, hey, Steve, we were at this lady's house for a medical call. She doesn't have any. Then I'll go and I'll get, $20. I'll go to Bimart and I'll buy two and I'll come install them for them. But I don't have a program where I can go door to door and install smoke alarms.
Got it. Okay.
But I will if I have to, even if I got to buy them myself. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. I've used baking soda to put out fires before. That works.
Yeah.
My
Baking
range
soda
caught
does
on
work.
fire. What?
I want you, baking soda does work.
It
But I
does.
want everyone to know it's not magic baking soda.
No.
You don't get to sprinkle it, okay?
No, you got to throw the whole box on it.
Rip the box open and dump it.
Pour it on.
It will put out the fire.
Yep.
okay?
Yep. My range caught on fire. Yep.
So it does work.
It does
I-
work.
I want
But a
everyone to
fire
know.
extinguisher would have been better.
Yes. It's not magic baking soda. You
Nope.
gotta have a lot of it. right.
Yes.
Any other questions on kitchen fires?
No, that was fascinating. And we are at 2:00 and you thought you were not going to have enough to say.
Yep.
That's
it.
Yeah. Is that the end? Looks like you've got another video for us.
If you guys want one more video on fire sprinkler systems, I can show you something real quick.
Sure.
It takes 2 minutes.
That's fine. Go for it.
Everyone watch how quickly the smoke alarm activates within the first 10 seconds. Within 12 seconds, the smoke alarm's going off when the fire is still small. So I want to be, sprinklers activate with heat, and the prop on the left, the fire was out within a minute and a half. The other side would have continued going until it flashes over in 2 minutes. And the side with the fire, everyone can get out because the fire is effectively out. So that's I wanted to show sprinkler systems, okay? They are mandatory in commercial projects, but not in your home.
Right.
That's the presentation.
Steve, that was amazing. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time today and all the great questions from our attendees as well. Yes, let's all give them a round of applause. Good job. Thank you. This was informative and frightening all at the same time. So appreciate you. And Steve, if you do need to get in touch with Steve, you can get in touch with us and we can get you his contact information. This was fascinating. Thank you again.
Yeah,
Thanks for
You're
everyone
welcome.
who was here. I'm going to stop the recording, and if I can figure out how to do that, and we will go from there. Thank you so much. Take care,
You're welcome.
Steve. We'll see you all later.